The galactic assembly had gathered beneath the impossible light of the halo spire, a structure so immense that entire civilizations orbited its outer rings. Representatives from thousands of alien species filled the chamber, their voices echoing through translators that carried every insult, every boast, and every declaration across the stars. At the center of the arena floated Earth's lone diplomatic vessel, dwarfed by the colossal flagships surrounding it. Humanity had spent only 2 centuries among the galactic powers, and despite astonishing technological progress, they remained the youngest major civilization. To the ancient empires, humans were reckless, emotional, and dangerously ambitious. The latest source of laughter was Earth's newest proposal, an expedition to the Galactic Core. The core was more than a place. It was a legend. Every civilization knew its stories. Countless fleets had vanished trying to cross the impossible gravity storms, the rivers of antimatter, and the labyrinth of warp space surrounding it. The oldest records claimed that the core was where the first stars had been born and where the laws of physics themselves bent before ancient forces. No expedition had ever returned. The oldest empires had long declared it forbidden. Yet humanity had announced not only that they intended to reach it, but that they would establish permanent contact with whatever lay beyond. The laughter began with a single delegate from the Vorak Dominion. It spread like wildfire until the entire assembly echoed with amusement. Massive insectoid generals clicked their armored claws against polished crystal floors. Floating energy beings shimmered with waves of mocking light. Even the dignified scholars of the Celestial Accord allowed themselves quiet smiles. One by one they spoke. Humans mistake courage for wisdom. They still believe every mystery exists to be conquered. They cannot even survive the first gravity wall. The core consumes civilizations. Let them learn. Finally, Supreme Chancellor Zyril, ruler of the oldest empire in known space, stood from his throne. His species had watched stars ignite before humanity had discovered fire. His voice carried the weight of 10,000 years. People of Earth, he said calmly, your species has achieved much. Do not let arrogance erase your future. No civilization reaches the galactic core. Not now. Not ever. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned toward the lone human representative. Ambassador Elena Ward stepped forward without hesitation. She wore no armor, no ceremonial crown, only the blue and silver uniform of the United Earth Stellar Command. Her expression remained calm despite the ridicule surrounding her. You believe no civilization can reach the core, she replied. Correct. You believe the laws of nature forbid it. They do. She smiled. Then perhaps you've misunderstood both nature and humanity. The assembly erupted once again, louder than before. Within hours, every news network in the galaxy replayed the exchange. Human determination became the greatest joke in recorded history. Comedy programs portrayed humans steering ships into black holes. Children on distant worlds played games pretending to be foolish Earth explorers disappearing into the core. Betting markets offered impossible odds against humanity's survival. On Earth, however, nobody laughed. Far beneath the mountains of Antarctica, hidden beneath kilometers of ice and shielded from every known sensor, a facility designated Vault Zero awakened after remaining dormant for nearly 12,000 years. Ancient doors the size of skyscrapers slowly unlocked. Warning lights that had never been seen by living eyes illuminated endless corridors. Massive reactors began humming with unfamiliar energy. Artificial intelligences older than every galactic civilization activated simultaneously. One voice echoed through the silent complex. Genetic confirmation complete. Human civilization has reached interstellar maturity. Authorization accepted. Preparing Starborn Protocol. Thousands of engineers, scientists, and military officers stood frozen as systems no modern human had built came alive around them. Entire control rooms assembled themselves from liquid metal. Star maps projected across the air, revealing routes that ignored every known law of hyperspace. General Marcus Hale stared at the impossible displays. Who built this? An elderly historian answered with a trembling voice. According to the oldest fragments, humanity did. No one spoke. The statement sounded impossible. Human civilization was barely 12,000 years old. Yet the machines surrounding them were far older. The central archive opened. Inside floated a crystal sphere containing memories preserved beyond time itself. A holographic figure appeared. It looked human. Not almost human. Human. She wore an unfamiliar uniform covered in symbols no historian recognized. "My name is Commander Lyra Solis," she began. "If you are watching this, then Earth has survived long enough to face the journey to the Galactic Core." Every person in the chamber leaned closer. "You have been told humanity began on a primitive world called Earth." She paused. "That is only part of the truth." The room became utterly silent. "Your civilization is not the first humanity." Shock spread across every face. "There have been others." Stars appeared around her. Entire galaxies rotated through the projection. Civilizations rise. Civilizations fall. But long before this galaxy possessed intelligent life. The hologram zoomed toward the brilliant center of the Milky Way. Humanity was born there. Gasps echoed across Vault Zero. "Our ancestors built the first Starborn Fleet." Images flooded the room. Gigantic silver vessels stretching hundreds of kilometers. Artificial suns. Living worlds. Machines capable of moving stars. They crossed dimensions. They created stable wormholes. They engineered galaxies. They believed knowledge belonged to every future generation. The images suddenly darkened. Then came war. Not against aliens. Against something far worse. Shadows consumed stars. Entire constellations vanished. Reality itself fractured. The enemy could not destroy humanity. They erased history instead. The projection showed Earth. A young, untouched planet. The last Starborn admirals hid their descendants here. They buried our technology. They erased every memory. They waited. Commander Solis looked directly into the camera. They waited for humanity to become worthy once again. General Hale whispered. "So, we've never been trying to reach the Galactic Core." The hologram nodded. "No." A star map illuminated. One path glowed brilliantly from Earth to the core. "You've been trying to go home." Outside Vault Zero, Earth's government received a single encrypted transmission. Its message contained only 6 words. "Starborn Protocol has officially begun." Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, silence gave way to controlled chaos. Scientists raced between glowing consoles while military officers stared at star maps that should not have existed. Every display inside Vault Zero pulsed with impossible precision, charting gravitational rivers through the galactic core that every known civilization believed were fatal. The routes ignored black holes, folded around neutron stars, and crossed dimensions themselves. Humanity had spent centuries believing the core was unreachable. Yet the ancient navigation system treated it like an ordinary voyage home. General Marcus Hale stood before Commander Lyra Solis's hologram, struggling to reconcile history with reality. If humanity once ruled the core, he asked quietly, what happened to us? The hologram's expression darkened. We won the greatest war ever fought. Silence filled the chamber. And that victory cost us everything. The projection shifted. 1 billion stars filled the room, arranged not as a galaxy but as a battlefield. The first Starborn civilization united thousands of species under a single promise: no race would ever stand above another. Knowledge, exploration, and freedom became the foundation of our civilization. Images appeared of humans standing beside beings of crystal, liquid light, and living stone. Worlds flourished together. Entire nebulae were transformed into gardens of artificial suns. For nearly 1 million years, Lyra continued, peace endured. Then every star on the map began blinking red. Until the Void Sovereigns arrived. Nobody in the room spoke. The name itself seemed to distort the air. They did not conquer planets. They consumed realities. Entire galaxies disappeared from the projection as if erased by an invisible hand. They fed upon intelligent civilizations. They erased memory. They destroyed history. They made victory impossible because no one remembered they had ever existed. The room grew cold. They reached the Galactic Core. The hologram zoomed inward. There, humanity made its final stand. Thousands of silver warships surrounded an object larger than a star, a living darkness that bent light itself. Our ancestors discovered that the Void Sovereigns could not be killed. They could only be imprisoned. Every officer leaned closer. The prison required a power source unlike any ever created. A glowing sphere appeared. The Heart Star. General Hale frowned. The core? Lyra nodded. The Galactic Core is not merely the birthplace of stars. It is the prison. Gasps echoed across Vault Zero. Our ancestors transformed the core into a lock. Images of the colossal Starborn Fleet emerged. Millions of ships linked together around the core, channeling unimaginable energy. They sealed the Void Sovereigns inside. But they knew the prison would weaken. One day, she looked directly at the audience. Their descendants would have to return. The projection vanished. A countdown appeared on every screen. Heart star stability, 18%. Estimated containment failure, 427 days. The room erupted. If that's accurate, the prison is failing. The entire galaxy. General Hale raised his hand. Enough. Everyone fell silent. Prepare every government. Humanity leaves immediately. News spread across Earth within hours. For the first time in history, every nation spoke with one voice. Political rivalries disappeared. Military alliances dissolved into a single command. Factories switched from civilian production to starship construction overnight. Orbital shipyards worked without pause. Children watched history unfold from classrooms while elderly veterans volunteered for one final mission. Humanity wasn't preparing for conquest. Humanity was preparing to save a galaxy that had never believed in them. Meanwhile, the Galactic Assembly continued celebrating humanity's supposed failure. The Vorak Dominion held public festivals. The Karen Empire broadcast documentaries explaining why humans would never survive the gravity walls. Betting markets reached record levels. Odds of humanity returning alive stood at 1 in 93 trillion. Even Chancellor Zyril allowed himself a rare smile. They will learn. A young advisor hesitated. Chancellor, a long-range observation station has reported unusual energy readings near Sol. What kind? They are unlike anything in our archives. Zyril dismissed him. Experimental engines. The advisor swallowed. Our instruments cannot identify them. The Chancellor finally looked up. No civilization possesses technology beyond our records. Before another word could be spoken, every communication screen in the assembly activated simultaneously. An emergency transmission. Earth? The chamber erupted in laughter. They are surrendering already. They've come to apologize. Elena Ward appeared once more. This time she wore a black command uniform instead of diplomatic attire. Behind her stretched an enormous hangar unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. I speak today, she began calmly, not as Earth's ambassador. She paused. But as representative of the first Starborn Fleet. The assembly burst into mocking applause. Then the camera slowly turned. Silence followed. Hidden within the Antarctic mountain range, colossal doors opened for the first time in 12,000 years. Something enormous began rising. One ship. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Each vessel dwarfed the largest dreadnought ever built by the oldest empires. Their silver hulls shimmered with living metal. Ancient symbols burned like stars across their surfaces. Space itself bent around them. The sensors of every alien flagship failed instantly. Artificial intelligences across the galaxy crashed trying to classify the impossible vessels. One desperate analyst whispered, Those aren't ships. What are they?" The answer came from the oldest archive ever recorded. An emergency alert dormant for over 10 millennia suddenly activated across every ancient database in known space. Warning sign civilization alert. Starborn Fleet detected. Status, founders have returned. Across the Galactic Assembly, every elder species froze. Several ancient delegates turned pale. One old historian collapsed to his knees. "I've seen that symbol." He pointed toward Earth's flagship. "My ancestors warned us." His voice trembled. The Starborn were never a myth. Outside Earth's orbit, 10,000 ancient warships aligned into perfect formation. Then, without firing a single engine, the fleet vanished. Not into hyperspace. Not through a wormhole. They simply folded reality. And began the impossible journey toward the Galactic Core. The disappearance of the Starborn Fleet lasted less than a heartbeat. Yet the shockwave it left behind rippled across the galaxy. Every long-range sensor screamed with impossible readings. Hyperspace observatories recorded tiers in space-time stretching for thousands of light years. Ancient navigation beacons that had been silent for millions of years suddenly activated, all pointing toward a single destination. The Galactic Core. Across hundreds of worlds, historians dug through forbidden archives. Artificial intelligences sealed since the dawn of interstellar civilization awakened without orders. Libraries that had refused access for millennia unlocked forgotten records. Every file carried the same warning. When the Starborn return, the final age begins. Aboard Earth's flagship Aegis Prime, Admiral Elena Ward stood before the bridge's panoramic window. Outside, space no longer resembled the familiar darkness between stars. The fleet was traveling through a corridor that existed outside normal reality. Entire galaxies appeared as streams of light. Time itself flowed like rivers around the silver vessels. Crew members watched in stunned silence as civilization seemed to rise and fall within shimmering distortions before fading into history again. Lieutenant Noah Reyes whispered, "We're not moving through space." Chief Scientist Dr. Myra Chen nodded. "We're moving through the framework that holds space together." No human technology had created this. The Starborn Fleet itself was alive. Every ship responded to its crew's thoughts. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. The engines sang in frequencies no human ear should have been able to hear, yet everyone understood them instinctively. It was as though the ships had been waiting for humanity to return. Deep inside Aegis Prime, General Marcus Hale entered a chamber marked only with a single symbol, a circle surrounding a seven-pointed star. The door recognized him before he spoke. Genetic lineage confirmed. "Welcome, Starborn Commander." The room illuminated. 7 towering figures appeared as holograms. They looked human, but their eyes contained entire constellations. Commander Lyra Solis stood among them. "The Council of 7 welcomes the children of Earth." Marcus remained silent. "You said we imprisoned the Void Sovereigns." "We did." "Then why are we returning with an army?" Lyra's expression grew solemn. "Because the prison is already broken." The room fell silent. A map of the Galactic Core materialized. Dark fractures spread across its glowing center like cracks in glass. Each fracture pulsed with black energy. Every century, the prison weakens. For 12,000 years it held. Now, one fracture suddenly expanded. They are waking. At that very moment, on the edge of the Galactic Core, an ancient alien research station drifted unnoticed. Its crew belonged to the Karen Empire, tasked only with monitoring gravitational anomalies. Captain Varric stared at his sensors. "Impossible." His officer looked up. What happened? The gravity readings? They've stopped. Silence. Nothing near the core ever stopped moving. Then, the stars began disappearing. Not exploding. Not dimming. Vanishing. 1. Then 10. Then hundreds. Darkness spread like ink across the heavens. Captain Varric activated every emergency beacon. Transmit to the assembly. Static answered. Communications were gone. Then the darkness moved. Something larger than planets emerged from the void. No engines. No weapons. Just endless black geometry twisting through dimensions. Thousands of crimson eyes opened across its surface. A voice echoed directly inside every mind aboard the station. We remember. Crew members collapsed, screaming. Computers melted. Artificial intelligences erased themselves. The station's cameras captured one final image before shutting down forever. An object the size of a moon, looking directly at them. Then the transmission ended. Hours later, the Starborn Fleet exited the dimensional corridor. The Galactic Core filled every window. No human had words for what they saw. The core was beautiful. And dying. Golden rivers of stellar energy flowed between billions of newborn stars. But black cracks scarred the light. Each crack expanded slowly, leaking shadows that swallowed nearby suns. Admiral Ward whispered. We're too late. Commander Lyra appeared beside her. No. Just in time. Suddenly every alarm aboard the fleet activated. Unknown contacts. 1. 10. 100. 1,000. They weren't enemy vessels. They were ancient human warships. Damaged. Silent. Drifting around the core exactly where they had fallen 12,000 years earlier. Millions of them. Their silver hulls were scarred by battles older than recorded history. Then, one engine ignited. Another. Then another. Across the battlefield, endless rows of forgotten starborn ships awakened as if hearing a familiar voice. Their lights burned blue. Weapons powered online. Formation after formation aligned behind Aegis Prime. An AI announced calmly. Lost fleet recovered. Combat strength increased by 18,462%. Crew members stared in disbelief. Humanity had not arrived with 10,000 ships. They had just inherited millions. Far beyond the battlefield. Within the deepest darkness beneath the core. A colossal eye opened. It was larger than entire solar systems. It watched the returning fleet. Then an ancient voice echoed through the void. So? The darkness stirred. The children have finally come home. Around the enormous eye, countless other crimson lights awakened one after another, stretching into infinity. The imprisoned void sovereigns were no longer asleep. And the greatest war in the history of existence was about to begin.